Welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara. I'm here to welcome you into the world of orgasmic living by hosting experts to discuss orgasmic topics such as nutrition, spirituality, personal development, sexuality, and much more. Here, we will offer lifestyle lessons that can help you lead a fulfilling, joyous, and orgasmic lifestyle. I'm your guide, Venus O'Hara. Welcome to episode 91 of the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with Venus O'Hara. In this new moon episode, we discuss hands-on sexuality and bodily pleasures. We speak with Pamela Madsen, a leading sexpert known for founding Back to the Body, a retreat focused on sexological bodywork. I also review the Netflix series Emily in Paris Season 4. And the episode ends with a guided meditation with affirmations for experiencing bodily pleasures. But first, let me share with you my own experiences with hands-on sexuality workshops. I give many workshops about sexuality, about sexual wellness, with a focus on female pleasure. And sometimes, not all the time, sometimes people ask me if my workshops are explicit. And I always say no. I prefer to focus on the theory and let people do the practice when they are on their own. It's not something that I would be very comfortable facilitating, if I'm completely honest. However, I am always open to listening to other perspectives on theories of the best way to raise orgasmic awareness and pleasure education. And our guest today has a very, very different perspective on it, which is absolutely fascinating. However, despite my ideas on this, of my own particular preference for focusing on theory only, I can recall a few times when I did receive practical sexual education, which was really mind-blowing for me because I had some preconceived ideas that were completely blown away. I was blown away. Let me share with you this story. I used to write for a newspaper in Spain called El País. It's the number one newspaper in Spain. And I was very popular from the years of 2011 to 2016, 17, more or less. And because of my big profile, I started to get lots of attention, lots of people who wanted to work with me, for example, sex toy brands. That's how I started my sex toy adventure, my sex toy career, because of my media profile. And also there was a center of tantric massage here in Barcelona that wanted to do a collaboration with me. They wanted me to review their services. And I was thinking, oh yeah, massage, brilliant. And it was really interesting because I was going along to this massage center for a kind of luxury VIP experience without really knowing the details of it. And that's one thing that's amazing about being an influencer, is that you can get freebies and get really good quality service because the people are interested in content in exchange for what they are providing for you. So I didn't have to worry about something. It was very expensive. If I'd paid for the service I had, it would have been very expensive. But I didn't have to worry about that. And also I didn't really know what was going to unfold. And that was kind of exciting. But I did say to them, no happy ending. I was feeling a bit shy about it. Well, maybe awkward. And it just didn't feel right. I was thinking, I don't really want someone to touch me in that way. If they're being paid to do so. I want someone to touch me, stimulate me, make me come if they actually are invested in me somehow, in my pleasure. And let me just take a sip of water here because this story is getting hot. Ooh. So yeah, I just said no happy ending. But that doesn't mean to say that the rest of the massage was very sensual and erotic. What happened was I arrived at the center for a 2-hour massage. And the girl, these places, you kind of choose the masseuse based on her physique, which is something that also makes me a little bit uncomfortable because I was thinking, it's not about, their their healing attributes. So that was something that I was thinking of as well. And also they have this in-house training. So they're not like certified masseuses, you know. So, but even so, I just wanted to have some hands on me. And it had been a long time since I'd had any hands on me. So I was just very grateful for the experience. And massages are always nice, even though they're not, you know, always sexual. They're very relaxing, and it's just nice to experience touch if it's been a very long time. Anyway, I arrived at the center and I was told to shower, because I guess people don't know about people's hygiene levels. Even though I was already clean, I had to shower straight away. Then I lay down on this on a bed on the floor, and it was all covered, very, very hygienic. And I was told to lie down, face down. And because I didn't really know, I hadn't chosen my masseuse, I just didn't know what was coming. And anyway, this girl arrives, and she was blonde, very curvy, and she started with my feet. And she had quite long nails. And when I had my sapphic era, there weren't many, I didn't experience any girls with long nails. It's kind of like a known, a kind of unspoken code not to have long nails, because they weren't very convenient, you know. But anyway, she kind of opened my mind to the sensual qualities of long nails, because she was kind of tickling around my ankle. And the type of massage that I had, it wasn't like a kneading and kind of muscular relief massage. It was very much like stroking and tickling and different types of touch. And it just made me, it awakened so many parts of my body that I didn't realize were erogenous, like my ankles. And I was thinking, oh my God, we just ignore so many erogenous zones when we're in a sexual encounter. A lot of the times it's just tits, ass, and the genitals. And if you go beyond those areas, you can find so many sensual delights in the body. And that was one of the biggest takeaways for me. Even places like behind the knees, with gentle touch, and the nails, the fingertips, it was amazing. And also she used her whole body to massage me and touch me. So she was completely naked. There was this warm oil between us, and she's very busty, but she had fake boobs, and I'm not really into fake boobs. I'm an appreciator of natural bodies. So I have all this massage, and she was told that I didn't want a happy ending, because that would have been too weird. But it was still kind of sensual and erotic. She was tracing around my breasts, around my nipples, and it was just so nice, and also pressing her body against mine. But I didn't really know. She told me, she kind of got my hand and put it on her breast, but I wasn't really into that. I just wanted to just receive all the pleasure, you know. I just wasn't into it at all. And then after about an hour, there was a knock on the door, and I was thinking, oh my God. And then at that moment, she puts a blindfold on me, and I was like, oh my God, what's about to happen? And then someone else came into the room. And then suddenly there are 4 hands all over me, massaging me. And I've never seen the person who's touching me. That was a really horny detail. And then after a while, I felt just 2 hands, and the door closed. So I deduced there was a new person there. And this second person removed my blindfold. And then suddenly I'm with a very different girl, and she was dark, more natural, a smaller bust. And she was just really nice. She really put me at ease. And then she was asking me, you don't want the happy ending? Why not? And it was interesting, because I had all these misconceptions about people just doing it because, you know, they were getting paid or something like that, and they weren't really doing it out of desire. But I did see some kind of, it did challenge my own beliefs, because I just thought that they didn't perceive it in the way that I thought they perceived it. For that, she was just like, why not? And she was kind of touching me around my vulva, but not to the point of orgasm or anything like that. So it just really, it was a very sensual experience. And also that day, it was thunder and lightning and outside. So imagine that added to the sensual experience of it. And then I went home afterwards. I was like, oh my God. So I had lots of juice to write a very entertaining article that would make people want to go to this place, because it was an incredible experience. Not something that I would pay for my hard-earned cash for, but I was very grateful. And I can understand why these services are popular, because sometimes it's not about sex, it's just about touch and sensuality. And that's what I really took away from it. And also when I was leaving, I saw a guy arriving at the place, And, some people can think, oh, these guys are kind of like perverts, or they're just like going for sexual services. But I was thinking, what if this person doesn't have anyone to there's no one in his life to touch him? It just made me see the whole thing in a different light, completely, because not everyone, has those opportunities. And so I think it's good not to judge people in these situations. So then after that, after my article went live, it was very popular, and it generated a lot of envy in other people who wanted to have that same experience that I'd had. And then interestingly, a rival tantric center contacted me, offering me the same kind of thing. And I thought, I've got to do a different angle now, because, for my editing, my writing, they wanted, I can't just write the same article again. But this second center, it was very different. They said that they insisted, they wanted me to have the happy ending in order to have the full experience. And I was like, well, okay then. And I went along to this, to have this massage. And the girl was so nice. She really made me feel at ease. This time it was just one person, no blindfolds. And then when it got to the happy ending, I was strangely very, very comfortable, because she had made me feel very, very comfortable at the end. So it was, but what was interesting as well was but as soon as I had come and all of that, I had this incredible orgasm, which was very weird, because it was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. But I do like to feel like a person who has sexual experience, and then be able to, push my own boundaries and always discover new things and feel like a novice, even though you're experienced. I do love those types of experiences, and this was one of those. But at the end, it just felt like she was very hygienic, like, washing her hands and, very quickly. And I just thought, if you're with a lover, it's not like that, with covering the bed. And it's good to have those hygiene levels, but it just can make you feel a little bit, I don't know. It was something it was a new experience to me. But I do think it's very important to uphold some good, hygiene standards in these types of places. But it was and then at the end she was like, do you want to ask me any questions? And it made me think of that some people, do those things because it's a vocation for them, and they want to really, put people at ease and teach you about your own pleasure responses. So it was a very good experience for me to actually live something that I wouldn't have chosen for myself. I equate it to when you go on a business trip. Sometimes the destination is not somewhere you would choose yourself, so you kind of open your mind. And I think sometimes it's good to live life with a script that you haven't written for yourself sometimes, because that can really open your mind to different things. And that can apply to many different things in life, such as ordering food or travel, or even, in this case, sexuality. So I'm so glad I had that experience, but it's not something that I would be repeating on a regular basis. But I do understand how that can be very useful for someone who is blocked, or someone who wants to discover more about pleasure responses, and they need a more hands-on experience. I think that's very, very important. But I think it's not for everyone. I think you have to, be aware of what's happening, and there has to be, professionalism and trust in those situations. But I'm very glad that I had that experience despite my misconceptions at the beginning. Are you looking to strengthen your pelvic floor in a fun and engaging way? Introducing PeriFit, the pelvic floor trainer that combines biofeedback with interactive video games. With PeriFit, you can track your progress and improve your pelvic health while playing games with your vagina on your smartphone. It's easy, effective, and more importantly, it's fun. For a limited time, you can get 25% off with the code Venus15 at checkout. Visit perifit.co today and take control of your pelvic health with PeriFit. That's perifit.co, and use the code Venus15 for 25% off. The link is also in the show notes below. Strengthen, play, and thrive with PeriFit. Disclaimer: consult your healthcare provider before starting any new fitness program. Now it's time for this episode's interview. We speak with Pamela Madsen, a leading sexpert and founder of Back to the Body, a retreat focused on sexological bodywork. Pamela Madsen, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast, where every day is a climax. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking part in this interview today. For those who are unfamiliar with your work, could you tell us what you do?
Oh, what do I do? I lead um, exotic and sensuous and holistic retreats for women around the world to connect to their erotic body. And I've been doing that for 13 years. Before I did that, I was the executive director and founder of the American Fertility Association. And so I come from an academic background, and I've been working in the field of somatic healing, transformation, pleasure loading for women for close to 14 years.
Wow. So what inspired you to follow this path?
Well, I wrote a whole book about it.
Okay.
Venus, I wrote a whole book. Um, so if you haven't read Shameless, that was published by Rodale in 2011, which is my memoir, what inspired me was turning 40, being the best known fertility advocate in the United States, even around the world. And like being like really like the corporate girl, and got married at 20, had my 2 children, went through infertility. And somewhere around 40, 42, my girlfriend started to have affairs.
Ooh.
We didn't call it polyamory. We didn't have fancy words. We're going back a decade and a half. We didn't have any of that. It was just called cheating and having affairs, and it looked so good on them. They were all sex goddesses, and they were alive, and they were turned on, and they glowed with it. And of course, I know that today to be new relationship energy that they were all floating in. But I wasn't a sex goddess. I mean, my husband and I knew how to do all the things.
Mhm.
Okay, licky, licky, sucky, sucky, fucky, fucky. And we could get each other off multiple times, no problem. It could take 10 minutes. We were like pros at this. But I definitely wasn't floating around in what I would name today as arousal energy.
Arousal
I
energy. I
didn't
love
have
that term.
I didn't know how to access that. And I knew it wasn't about my husband, and I knew it wasn't about um even my connection to my pussy.
Mhm.
I knew that there was just something more in the erotic realm that they were having and I wasn't having.
That you'd
And
never had.
then I was not,
You never had in your life? Or
well, I don't know. I mean, new arousal energy is a particular moment in time, right?
Mhm.
But at that point, I had been married for 20 years.
Okay.
And so I don't know if I never had it in my life. That'd be too dramatic a statement for me.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't know how to cultivate and access arousal energy in my own body. And I didn't really understand. I knew that there was a lot more in my body that I was possibly accessing, which was actually more than the climax, that there was more. That living an orgasmic life, the name of your show, for me is how I walk in the world,
Mhm.
right? For me, it's more than my clitoris exploding. For me, it's arousal energy, like literally floating up and through and out into the world all the time. And it's how I dress, and it's what I eat, and it's how I care for myself. And I didn't get there until I did all the erotic embodiment work that gave me my own erotic sovereignty and ability to literally turn myself on
Wow.
and wake up. And so that's what inspired me was the knowing of this without knowing it. And so I went on a journey, and I went searching for ways in which I could find teachers to support me in this exploration. So I went on my own erotic heroine's journey, Venus, into my own body. And I did it mostly with literally not knowing what I was doing. I found out about this thing called happy ending massage through a gay massage therapist. And
Mm.
I was like, holy Toledo, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. So I went looking. I went looking. And I um couldn't find anything for women.
Oh,
It's just
wow.
like if you had a penis,
Mm.
Venus, if you have a penis, you can do anything. You can
Mm.
get anything. It's all available for anyone with a dick. And I don't care. I don't care if you are gay or straight or bisexual. Really, all you need is the penis, and then you're in the door. If you try to look for erotic services as a woman 15 years ago, it was really as dry as a desert. It's so much better today.
Mm.
But I went on that journey, and then I started a blog about it called The Riverdale Goddess, the very unusual adventures of a not very ordinary housewife. And that was back in the day, Venus, when blogs were blogs.
Mm.
You know, it's not like it is today, where people have blogs attached to websites. But back then, way back then, when Jesus was a baby, 15 years ago in social media life, you know, it was having an anonymous blog was possible.
Oh, you said it
And
was
people searched.
anonymous. Mm.
Oh, yes, I was Kate.
Mm.
Kate, the
Okay.
Riverdale
Interesting.
Goddess. And I wrote all about it. That's what turned into my book. And I worked mostly with gay men
Wow.
and one-way touch. And they supported me in opening up to understanding my fantasies and my desires and freed me up. And I began this very, very deep journey um, into the sacred sexuality underground, which was a real mixed bag
Mm. Okay.
of a mixed bag of boundaries, mixed bag of what was being offered, mixed bag of honestly, when we think if we say we want to think the best of each other always,
Mm.
um, 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, Venus, whoever it was running their programs were such newbies in this world. They were out there just like I am now with their, you know, machete, crack, you know, trying to like open up the jungle. So that mistakes that were made with me when I was a client, I don't like hold bad feelings. I feel like everybody was learning.
Mm.
Everybody was learning, exploring, not really knowing what they were doing, but had this idea of this space where women and men could freely open into their erotic bodies. And so I had experiences, you know, where somewhere in the session with my Tantra healer, he would say, and now this is the time where you might like to touch my magic lingam.
Oh.
You know, this can be very healing for many women. And so those sorts of things happen to me.
Mm.
Emphasis on ejaculation without any real understanding of how a woman ejaculates. I had a tantra dude like kneeling between my legs, going, Goddess, Goddess, do you have anything for me? And I was like a punch in the nose, maybe, but that's about it. You know, so I had those experiences, and then I went on and decided to get training as a somatic sex educator and left the American Fertility Association. This
So,
had
so what was that
such an
like? So
impact.
just get such a massive change. I mean, so one thing is kind of like this personal discovery, and then you're going into making it your job. That's a massive jump.
It was a massive jump, and I was already really good at the waist down,
Uh,
right? So
okay. Oh, so you're
working
kind of
with
like
fertility.
examining women anyway for your work and just When when
Well,
you're
for infertility, it's well, with infertility, it's men and women.
okay,
It's equal. I
okay,
mean, people always assume it's the woman, but actually
all
it's
right.
equal and 20% combined. A little
Ah,
fertility education here. But I was really educated about reproductive rights and the reproductive system, and in particular, women's bodies. And I was very, very well respected.
mhm,
And so for me to enter the sexual wellness sphere, I had a huge platform underneath me already
okay.
because I had already passed laws, testified before Congress, the FDA. I had been on Oprah multiple times, all the shows, Today Show in New York, all the things. So I was quite well known for fertility. And so when I moved into this, using my name,
Mm,
not using a pseudonym,
mm,
being very public about all the things, right? It was a whole new world and it was easier for me. And because I had all these experiences as a client,
mm,
delicious, neutral, and awful as a client, I knew what I wanted to create for women. And just like the people who came before me, I made my mistakes.
mm,
We had to figure this out too.
mhm.
And I have one of the best held containers for women to do this work safely and without any no mixed messages, honey. No mixed messages. Women know what they're getting. What's we were studied.
Mm,
I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but last year, the study about our work was published in a scientific journal of sexuality and human relationship. And we're quite, because I come from a data scientific background, the results are quantitative, they're
mhm.
measurable. And so we know that what we see happening for women at the retreats is actually measurable and repeatable. And that is super important to me as a person who has been an advocate for women for so long.
Amazing. So what happens in your retreat? So is it called Back to the Body? Is that the name of the retreat?
Yes, back to the body, sensuous retreats for women. Yeah.
So does
Hmm.
that reflect your own journey, like it's reconnecting with your body? Would you say it was like that?
Yes. And so yes, so we like to say that we're not a sex school, we're a self school.
Okay.
We like to say things like to get back to your body, bring your body. So yes, this is an embodied experience. We're limited in the amount of women we can take a year. We sell pretty quickly. We're already into our 2025 planning. I only have room in 2 retreats. For this year, we only have room in 2 retreats out of 10. We fill quickly. And so what happens at a retreat? Well, there's anywhere between 8 to 12 women. It's unusual to have a retreat with 16 women. Each woman is assigned to a practitioner, and
Okay.
they meet their practitioner in a pre-interview before the retreat begins. And we assign them to their practitioners because all the practitioners hold the same boundaries, but
Okay.
they all have a slightly different style and a different flavor. And so it's a little bit like, I can't make a mistake. And like, I know that this woman would do better with this practitioner. And
Are
so
they
they
male
stay with
and
that.
female, the practitioners? I mean, could a woman have
We have
with that?
So yes, a woman can have a female practitioner if that's her desire. Most of our women want to work with men,
Okay.
and even bisexual and lesbian women seem to want to work with men.
Wow.
And yeah, people are interested in all of this, right? And we have female practitioners, and all we need to know is ahead of time.
Okay.
Like, hi, I'm Julie, and I would be more comfortable with a female practitioner. Terrific, Julie. We'll arrange that for you. Let me get back to you.
Mm.
So it takes a little bit of an arrangement, but it's always doable. It's always doable. We also work with transgender folk as well.
So what's the I do lots of not retreats, but workshops and stuff. And I don't do anything with because I'm a sex toy kind of expert. That's my expertise. I've reviewed 800 toys in 10
Well,
years. And
that's a lot of shaking, honey.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have a room with 800 toys and I've designed many toys. I work with Satisfyer and other brands. But for me, I think sometimes people have approached me to do retreats and I've always felt a bit uncomfortable with trying to people getting it all getting on naked and using toys. I always try to insinuate things. I've made online courses as well for Beducated about different toys. Do you think how much more important is or what's the huge advantage of let's say having an embodied experience as opposed to a theoretical one? Because I think for me, I think it's about personal comfort as well. I think not everyone is comfortable with that sensation. Do you think it's much more effective to have a kind of hands-on experience rather than a
Well, yeah, I do. I do. And not to say that toys can't be invited to the party.
yeah, but I mean it's just like yeah, I'm
Because,
just talking.
you
I've got
know,
PowerPoints and just talking.
yeah.
I'm not really everyone's clothed in my
Okay. So here's what's true. I can talk to somebody forever,
mm,
but until they feel something in their body,
mm,
it's just talk.
okay.
And so we have women who come in there. So I have a couple, always is always like a 20-year-old and a 30-year-old. Most of the women are between the ages of 40, and I have them up through the 80s showing up at my retreats. And they come from all walks of life, well-known people, doctors, lawyers, well-known folks, sex educators come, very well-known sex educators, like Emily from Sex with Emily has been very public about coming through Back to the Body.
Mm,
Jaya from Erotic Blueprints has come through Back to the Body. They're public about it. Why do people like that come? Right? Experts, because we also need a place, just like people who are dealing with sexual trauma or people who are in some sort of life transition or women who are just like, whoa, when am I going to learn how? When am I going to experience what I read about? Those of us who are actually at a higher level as well in our self-knowledge also need a place to grow more,
mm,
also need a place to expand our sexuality. And so we're a place for people who are like, what am I doing here? To, oh my God, this is what I'm doing here. And oh my God, I need 5 more retreats. And so it's an opportunity. I'm serious. So 5 is basically normal for my women. 3 to 5 retreats is a normal amount of consumption for women. So what happens is they get an opportunity to actually learn how to communicate around sex. They get an opportunity. They're working with a practitioner and a female safe port. So we work in a triadic model. So a triadic model would be the client,
mm,
the practitioner, and the female safe port
mm,
who is educated in this work. And so the woman is constantly held. There are no secrets. Okay.
okay.
The woman will know, in fact, in the evenings, we all meet around all the women
Mm,
and present cases and how are they doing and how can we support them. They get an opportunity to actually have somebody ask them a question like, what gives you pleasure? What turns you on? Are you able to say it? I don't know. Nobody even asked me that question before. Great. Let's explore what's available here, right? And then they actually get to have Epicurean touch. They get to have 90 minutes to 3 hours of somebody who is giving their full attention on that woman, not the woman who's coming in after her or the woman who came before her, because every woman is different
mm.
emotionally and physically. I like to say, if you've been with one woman, you've been with one woman.
Yeah, yeah.
And how, right? And how, like, even with the sex toys, like, I like that. That's my favorite. I don't like that. That's my worst. And so everyone has a different embodied experience. And so what we've learned from immersion, women get 5 sessions,
Mm,
5 sessions in a 7-day retreat. The first day, it's about creating a safe container for the women. Because if you're hypervigilant and you don't feel safe, how are you supposed to surrender? How
Mm.
are you supposed to open? How are you supposed to actually feel? So the first thing we do is create the container with the women, and they get to see live demos.
Wow.
And so they know what to expect before they have their session. And if they're not ready to climb, we work on massage tables, and my practitioners remain clothed. And it's
Okay.
one-way touch.
Mm.
And when if we do full genital touch with a woman, they wear gloves.
Okay.
So we use sex toys. They're covered with condoms and
Mm.
clean and sterilized.
Mm.
Um, and we take women through a full exploration. And some women find out that, you know what? They really love soft touch and they
Mm.
really need slow touch. And some women find out, "Oh, I need deep impact." And is that a flogger? And what do you do with that? Right. So women get to come and play and explore and expand and heal.
Mm.
And they heal body image. They develop something called genital self-esteem, a
Yeah.
technical term for feeling really good about your pussy.
Yeah.
Because
Very important.
a lot of women come in with genital shame.
Yeah, I think it happens, I think, when you're in a sexual encounter and then the moment of taking your underwear off is like, oh, people are covering up. But it's wonderful to feel confident in that area. It's just such a beautiful thing. 'Cause it's very erotic to own your pussy. I mean, a lot of my fantasies are kind of like, I imagine my vulva is like another entity. It's got that much presence. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so women often come in with various kinds of shame around their genitals. They
Mm.
leave without it. They leave that behind, which is gorgeous. They they develop body acceptance. I avoid the word um body love or self-love. I think that's like another job to fail at. I
Mm.
feel like if we can learn to be body friendly,
Mm.
if we can learn to be kind to our bodies, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And if we can get to like body love, fantastic. But can we just start with like a little body acceptance? So we know through the study that that happens for women, that they learn to initiate, they learn to speak, they learn to own their desires, they learn what they like, they learn what they're curious about, and
Mm.
then have an opportunity to explore that. And we have lots of married women.
Mm.
You know, it's not just for single women. It's for people who are in relationship. And, some of the men have written to us and said, um, my little Ford, showed up to your retreat and you sent me home a Ferrari.
Wow.
And could I have gotten a user manual, please? You know, so the women go through big changes. And, I know how delicate this is.
Mm.
I know how delicate this work is, and I had my eye on something to show you. Um, and now my eye isn't on it. Here it is. I'm going to do a reach. So the women get a playbook.
Oh, nice.
This is France. They get a huge playbook that takes them through the retreat day by day, with exercises and resources, and then when they're a member of our community, they also get free support groups
That's
for
great to
life.
continue the integration of the of what they're learning.
Yeah, so we don't just like take the women, you're gonna have an experience and have a nice day.
Mm.
That's not the experience. We hold them for before, during, and after the retreat.
I'm thinking about some of my friends now who are in their 40s and single and just really sexually frustrated, but they don't want to go on the dating apps because what they're finding there is that men just want to use them as rag dolls kind of thing. And then I think a lot of these women are looking for kind of emotional connections. They're not finding them. Do you think that sometimes there could be a problem with women trying to project emotional things onto the practitioner or trying, because I think sometimes with a lot of my friends that I can think of now, um they kind of need an emotional connection to kind of feel sexually safe in a way. I mean, and then having a stranger touching them seems quite very counterintuitive. You know, I mean, what would you say to that? Because it
We all become friends very fast.
okay.
So we practice intimacy.
Hmm.
The women actually get a chance to practice intimacy with their practitioner within the boundaries that we hold.
Hmm.
They get a chance to meet their practitioner before they come.
Okay.
So they won't be a stranger,
Okay.
right? They will have met them. They will also come to a welcome call. They will also go to a dinner with the other women the night before the retreat begins.
Mm.
Sisterhood is a huge part of this. It's one of the things that came out in the study is that the women healed a lot of issues between each other at the program. They supported each other through the program. But to be more specific to your question is that, we have really beautiful men with and women with beautiful hearts, and
Mm.
they meet the women where they are. And there's an arc.
Mm.
And so where it may feel really awkward on day one, day two, they're sort of running to their sessions.
Okay.
It's amazing how quickly intimacy and connection is formed when held in the right hands and
That's
when there's
mm.
safety
Mm.
and where there's safety. And what's different about my practitioners, and I'm going to speak specifically about male practitioners, is most male practitioners who work with women don't get enough practice. There isn't enough women.
Ah.
My practitioners are working with, at one retreat, could be working with 4 women for a week, 10 retreats a year, plus privates. They've been with me, some of them for 13 years.
Mm.
Um, my newest practitioners have been with me for 4 to 6 years.
Wow.
So they've worked with a lot of women,
Yeah.
and they're very practiced, also knowing what I said before, which they're very aware of this woman who's in front of them
Mm.
is her own unique person.
Hmm. Yeah. So what do you think is the
So
most
intimacy
common,
happens.
speaking of intimacy, what is the most common intimacy block that you find in your work?
The most intimate is us. It's us women.
Mm.
We're the block.
Mm.
We're the block.
Just a disconnection.
We are so frightened to be seen.
Hmm.
We are so frightened to be seen. We put more obstacles in front of our physical pleasure, how we think people see us in the world than anyone else. And that's because we don't feel safe in our bodies. And so it's really hard to connect with another person if you are wearing a suit of emotional and physical armor. And so if we can have women feel sovereign in their bodies, autonomous in their bodies, then they can be open,
Mm.
and then they can really connect with intimacy with other people. But if you're constantly behind a veil, how are you going to find anybody?
Mm.
And if you're always looking for what's wrong, then you're never going to find somebody who's right.
Mm. So what do you think about the non-sexual benefits of this? Because I'm a real believer that, orgasm and all this being sexually connected has a positive impact on all areas of your life. But what would you say about that? Because you must have seen so many examples of these transformations.
Well, it's far more than the actual physical pleasure in our genitals and in our bodies. As we said before, and the name of your program, and orgasmic life, it's about that.
Mm.
It's about how you choose to give yourself pleasure throughout your life. It's freeing up erotic energy into creation energy.
Mm.
Sex is a buffet, right? It's not one thing or the other. Eroticism isn't one thing or the other. And so yesterday I had an incredibly brilliant day. I had a day off, and I took myself out shopping
Mm.
and for lunch, and I adorned myself with clothes that made me feel hot and sexy and delicious. And I had $130 lunch by myself. And to me, that's like putting my resources on me. That's not being selfish, it's being alive.
Mm,
It's 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 a freedom. And I think when we become when we live in arousal, when we live in arousal energy, um, we are like honey to bees.
mm.
Who doesn't want to be with that?
Yeah,
Who
amazing.
doesn't want that?
You just said earlier that a lot of your clients are 40 and above. So I think one misconception or fear, a lot of friends I have and myself included, is does it all end? I mean, how do we manage arousal energy after menopause? Because that's something that because I'm like very nat I'm a vegan. I'm all kind of whole foods, plant-based, and I'm very much into kind of natural living. But I do think from the experts I've spoken to, I'm definitely doing BHRT. I mean, that's something I just want to stay juicy forever. So what have you seen, and do you have any tips for those women? Because I have a lot of my friends now who are like 40s, mid 40s, and they've got all this libido, and they're thinking they're single and thinking all this energy is being wasted, and it's all going to dry up soon, and it's going to be wasted. So what would you say to that? I mean, I think a lot of women think about that.
Well, I think we've been fed a whole crock of shit
Okay.
as women about that.
Mhm.
Um, I'm 60
Wow.
and
Arousal
wow.
energy.
Right. And it's interesting. I actually don't often say my age because I hate when people say, "Oh, well, you look so good for 60." But I'm saying it here right now. And the reason I'm saying it is I am the sexiest I feel like I've been. My 40s, 50s, and 60s have been I mean, I just hit that CO mark, the 60 mark. But my 40s, my 50s, I just keep getting hotter. I'm still married. I just ended a 4-year relationship with a gorgeous man who was, I don't know, 16, 18 years younger than me. He had to eat a pork chop once after making love with me because he didn't expect to run a 5K, he told me. So, you know, sexuality, I don't take HRT. I never did.
Oh wow.
I just take orgasm. I take orgasm.
I love.
And lube is our friend. I'm still pretty juicy down there, but I like lube. And I've never heard anyone say that there's too much lube. I used to be one and done in my 20s around orgasm. And in my 40s, 50s, 60s, I'm 16 and done.
Wow.
So it's just about learning how to raise your pleasure ceiling.
Mm.
And sometimes you have to learn how to be a little uncomfortable for a minute or two to raise your pleasure ceiling. But women have incredible erotic capacity, which is why there's a thing now with older women with younger men, because we actually need the vitality of younger men to keep up with us.
Mm.
And so I'm a firm believer in younger men as well. I love older men, but I've needed the vitality of the younger man.
Mm.
And so if you feed your mind that you're going to dry up and all the
Yeah.
sad boohoo stories, I'm sure that you will create that for yourself.
Mm.
And you can also create a whole other kind of life for
Mm.
yourself. I'm 60, I'm hot, I'm turned on.
Arousal
I've
energy.
never looked better. And I walk into a room and people look.
Mm.
I was at a party. I was at a party. I never go to sex parties,
Mhm.
but a friend of mine was orchestrating one. And she was telling me about some handsome young man. And I said, I have a rule, they can't be younger than my sons.
Okay.
And so this gorgeous, gorgeous young man came over to me and he said, okay, I heard the rule. How old do I need to be?
Wow.
He was 24. He didn't muster, he was too young for me. But that's me. He
Mm.
was ready. He was ready. So whose rules? Too old for who?
Yeah.
Too old for what? What story are you buying? Or what story about your life are you creating? I know my story, and it's getting hotter.
I love it. Speaking of stories, it takes me to my next question, which I ask all my guests. What is the book that changed your life?
The book that changed my life. Um, it was an Anne Rice book.
Ah,
Um, it was the Beauty series.
okay.
Um, it was the Beauty series that Anne Rice wrote. And it introduced me to BDSM and different ways of having sex and men and women and men and men and all the different ways that people could be erotic and power and surrender. That book, on a personal sexual level.
Mm.
And then The Erotic Mind by Jack Morin
Oh, wow.
as an academic.
Okay, that's interesting. Right, because I'm always reading books. I've got a whole shelf of books from my podcast guests, but I'm definitely going to buy yours. I will definitely.
Well, thank you. Mine is a memoir, and it's very funny, and it looks like that.
I love it. Amazing.
It looks like, yes, those are my legs.
And another question I ask all my guests, what is the phrase or affirmation or quote that you live by?
Oh gosh. Well, this is the one that's coming to mind in this moment. I don't know if it's the one that I live by, but we'll go with it. All right. Um, More is more and less is boring.
Okay. Full on maximum. I love it. So
Right.
where can people find you?
Well, I'm not hiding.
Okay.
Um, they can find me, they can find me in lots of social media spaces. They can find me at backtothebody.org, and I invite you all to come and take the pleasure quiz on Back to the Body and see where you line up in the pleasure world, and then get all the resources with where you fall. They can find me on Instagram at the Pamela Madsen, and on Facebook. I still do Facebook.
Mm,
Pamela Madsen, it's got a verified check on all the places. Every day I put out writing.
okay.
Every day there are invitations. We have a lot of free stuff as well as
Hmm.
the programs. And they can have a free consultation with a sexologist. And you don't have to do this alone.
That's
This is,
beautiful.
finding your body and rejuvenating yourself is a team sport. It's not done in isolation.
Yeah, definitely. Also, these newfound skills, you can really improve your relationship with your next partner then or your current partner for sure. Once you're,
And yourself.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Because, if we can't be in love with our bodies, with how I'm using the word love, if we can't be really friendly and knowledgeable about our bodies and our genitals and our pleasure, how do we offer that to somebody else
Mm.
when we don't know?
Yeah, do you know, I've had so many people write to me, actually, men who are complaining that their women don't enjoy cunnilingus, and they're just keen to go down, but the women are like too ashamed of their genitals. Isn't that such a waste? It's such a pity.
It is such a way, and there's so many stories about how I taste and how I smell and how
How
I
I look,
look.
yeah.
And what's really beautiful about these programs is that there is opportunity where we don't just get naked and sit in a circle. That doesn't happen at my retreats. But there is an opportunity sometimes to see other women share their bodies, if they're open to that, and they get to be normalized, that we look different. And practitioners are really beautiful at giving reflections.
Hmm. So when's the next retreat? It's also sold out, I suppose.
The next open retreat,
Hmm.
the next open retreat in the US is in June and September, both in Colorado, and one in the fall in Mexico called Rituals. And then we're done for the year. Then we're sold out for the year.
I'm in Barcelona, Spain. Do you ever
But
come to Spain?
we have. I'm on my way in a few weeks to Puglia, Italy for a sold
Mm.
out retreat, and then Paris
Oh,
for a
nice.
sold out retreat. So we do travel around. We'll be in Thailand in 25. We'll be back in Tuscany. Mexico. I'm opening a retreat center in Joshua Tree, up
Mm,
in the high desert in California. So there's lots of locations. What I tell women is don't worry so much about location.
mhm,
You're going to have to get in a plane to get to me. You're going to
mhm,
have to pack a bag. You're going to have to go somewhere. That's a part of the adventure, a
mhm,
part of and you're not going per se to the Paris retreat to eat the croissant.
mhm,
Yes, there'll be croissants and cheese, of course. It's not where you're going. You're going to have a transformational experience with an incredibly elite team with
mhm,
science at their back to help you transform your life. And whether that happens in Colorado or whether that happens in Paris,
mhm. It's beautiful.
what's important?
Mhm. The journey within, I guess.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast, where every day is a climax. It's been
Every day's a
a pleasure.
climax.
Yeah. Thank you so much. The series I'm watching now is Emily in Paris, season 4, and that is on Netflix. I'm not reading as fast as I used to, so now I'm going to be reviewing some series as well. So Emily in Paris, when I first started watching it, season 1, I absolutely loved it. In fact, one of my friends told me I think that she thought I would like it because I used to live in Paris. So Paris is probably one of the best times of my entire life, of my formative years. The person I am today was born in Paris, it seems. And what I loved about it is all of those references to cultural misunderstandings, lots of generalizations, and I think I've seen a lot of people on making videos about it on YouTube who are kind of offended by how they perceived French culture. But I think you have to take that with a bit of a pinch of salt. I think it shows the worst of American culture and the worst of French culture at the same time. But it is light humor, it's not supposed to be serious. And all of the stereotypes are hilarious. I think there was one episode in the first series when she goes to the bakery and asks for a baguette and doesn't say hello. I found that sometimes in France. If you go I was in Zara once, I asked for a small size, and she goes, bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. So I was like, oh my God, what? And then they make you feel like they are quite rude back, and it's all your fault. It's very passive aggressive. It was, yeah, but obviously you can't, generalize that much on a culture. There are always nice people everywhere, and there are also people who are not so nice everywhere. But in general, the Parisian character is quite hard to deal with. And someone I love in this Emily in Paris is the character of Sylvie, and I think she's the owner of the marketing agency where Emily goes to work, and she's a real bitch. I mean, but I love it. She's very entertaining. And they ask her, what do you want to have lunch one day? And then she says, no, or something like that. He goes, what have you already eaten? She goes, I'm having a cigarette. So yeah, it was very interesting. I just loved that character. And I just think it has to be taken with a pinch of salt. But so if you haven't watched Emily in Paris, it's basically an American who goes to Paris on a work for work, and then she ends up staying there and causing lots of drama in her life, in her love life, in her work life, and she wears very interesting costumes. So it's all lots of references to Paris that I loved. I mean, the first couple of episodes were focused on cultural clashes, whereas this latest season I'm not enjoying as much because there is a love triangle. For example, she likes this guy who's a chef called Gabriel, but it turns out he has a girlfriend, and then she's also friends with his girlfriend. So, and then she meets this other guy, this really nice English guy, and then she's with him. So it's kind of like this love triangle. It's been going on for far too long now, and I know that in the second half of this 4th season, I'm assuming there's going to be a third guy in the picture. But there are so many messages that I didn't like about this love triangle. I think, first of all, to go on every season being the same kind of love story, forbidden love, it's just too much. There needs to be some fresh ideas in it. And I just think it's a terrible message about the girl code. I mean, just for example, you find out the guy you like is with someone that you're friends with, and then one day they break up, and then you're straight in there. I just makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable with things that I've lived in my own life. And when I see a woman who doesn't follow girl code, I am very suspicious of them, and I don't really want them in my life. I think those types of people you just do not need. People who have no self-control, no boundaries, and no loyalty. I just think life is too short, and I don't think it's good to have that type of message as the central theme of a series. And I think the same thing of Sex and the City, like with Carrie going for the guy who's treated her pretty badly over all the years. I mean, I know it's all entertainment, but I think a lot of people, are looking up to these series as, for inspiration. And I just think that's not a good message at all. I'm still watching it because I can't find anything else on Netflix that's entertaining me right now. I'm always looking to entertain myself with things that are related to relationships, sexuality, but I'm not really into things that have violence or suspense or anything that's unpleasant to watch, because at the end of the day, I am literally watching these things at the end of the day, so I don't want to have anything going into my subconscious before sleep that could be negative or disturbing. So Emily in Paris is kind of like a nice distraction, but I'm not kind of like watching them all, binge watching them like I did with previous series. I think this is a real disappointment. I think it's just more of the same old. It's just like a jumble of ideas that doesn't seem to be making any progress in the story. That's my perception anyway. But nonetheless, it's light and entertaining. And if you have any tips for amazing series, please let me know. I'm looking for things that are based on reality, human emotion, and that are inspiring. Yeah, and I love series, a series about love, about relationships, about growth. Something that's going to make me think, make me feel, and that doesn't have, or maybe make me laugh as well. A bit of comedy is quite good, but not something that's going to make me feel stressed before going to bed. So if you have any suggestions, reach out to me at venusohara.org, and I'd be very, very grateful for some new tips, because I'm paying for all these subscriptions and not really making most of them because I'm not seeing anything that I like. Anyway, thank you for that. If you do send something, and I'm sorry if I included some spoilers there. And that is Emily in Paris on Netflix. Now it's time to slow things down as we prepare for this episode's guided affirmations meditation. It's probably not a good idea to listen to this while driving or operating machinery. Instead, take a break from whatever you're doing, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and enjoy. My body is a source of deep joy and satisfaction. I trust my body to guide me towards pleasure and comfort. I embrace the pleasure my body is capable of feeling. I allow myself to fully experience and enjoy sensual pleasure. My body is a source of deep joy and satisfaction. I am in tune with my body's desires and sensations. I am grateful for the pleasure I feel in my body. My body is a source of deep joy and satisfaction. I trust my body to guide me towards pleasure and comfort. Every touch, sound, and movement brings me pleasure and delight. I honor my body by embracing its pleasures. My senses are alive, and I enjoy every sensation fully. I deserve to experience deep, fulfilling bodily pleasure. I am grateful for the pleasure I feel in my body. My body is a source of deep joy and satisfaction. I trust my body to guide me towards pleasure and comfort. Pleasure flows through me effortlessly. I give myself permission to fully enjoy physical sensations. My body is a temple of pleasure, and I celebrate it. I savor every moment of pleasure my body experiences. I am grateful for the pleasure I feel in my body. My body is a source of deep joy and satisfaction. I trust my body to guide me towards pleasure and comfort. I release any guilt or shame around enjoying my body's pleasure. I am connected to my body's natural rhythm of pleasure and relaxation. Pleasure is my birthright, and I welcome it into my life. I trust my body to lead me to moments of deep, sensual joy. I am grateful for the pleasure I feel in my body. My body is a source of deep joy and satisfaction. I trust my body to guide me towards pleasure and comfort. My body is a source of endless pleasure and comfort. I deserve to feel good in my body every single day. I am open to receiving and experiencing pleasure in all forms. I enjoy the gift of pleasure. I am grateful for the pleasure I feel in my body. Are you looking to strengthen your pelvic floor in a fun and engaging way? Introducing PeriFit, the pelvic floor trainer that combines biofeedback with interactive video games. With PeriFit, you can track your progress and improve your pelvic health while playing games with your vagina on your smartphone. It's easy, effective, and more importantly, it's fun. For a limited time, you can get 25% off with the code Venus15 at checkout. Visit perifit.co today and take control of your pelvic health with PeriFit. That's perifit.co and use the code Venus15 for 25% off. The link is also in the show notes below. Strengthen, play, and thrive with PeriFit. Disclaimer: consult your healthcare provider before starting any new fitness program. To find out more about me and my orgasmic lifestyle, visit venusohara.org or follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/venusohara. Make sure to search for the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening, have an orgasmic week, and make sure every day is a climax.